Hi, my name is Preet. Today we are here to discuss our case. First of all, I would like to introduce my group members Abdullah, Nita, Ravi, and Kaisar. Actually, our case is Robert B. Hunt versus Alliance North American Government Income Trust Incorporation. Now I will give you a brief background history regarding this case to create an understandable image which will be help in getting a complete picture further descriptions. Moreover, an open-ended mutual fund formed to make investments in government granted securities of three countries such as the Mexican, Canada, US and the countries in Central and South American. After that, between February 1992 and December 1994, the fund issued seven prospectus, each containing a representative that were substantially identical for the purpose of this case. After that, in December 1994, the Mexican government devaluated the peso over 15% against the US dollar, and in change of policy allowed the peso to float freely against the dollar, and as a consequence the value of peso fell rapidly against the dollar. Investors sold large quantity of Mexican and other Central and South American securities, and the fund's net assets value that is declined dramatically. Next part will be discussed by Abdullah.
Thank you, Preet. Discussing further about because as you have heard about, from Preet that the currency there's a fall in the currency was dramatic. That's why the all the securities they were sold by the investors. So the investors they decided they're gonna file a case on this fund and its related entities. These plaintiffs filed a consolidated and supplemental class action complaint on July 1995. These cases were filed in the District Court of New York and District Court of Southern California. Complaint alleged the major points that I'm going to discuss. The first complaint was alleged with the name fund that was misleading, and the fund changed its investment without a shareholder votes. Second complaint which they put on the in the case was the risk investment were not properly disclosed. So the investors they weren't clear about the risk that were involved in the investment. Another major point that the plaintiffs they raised in the court was that the fund falsely represented it would use hedging techniques to reduce the currency risks, because Mexican currency was lower than the US currency, so they're gonna use their hedging technique to control it. For hedging, just for the sake of information, hedging means the investors it hedges one investment by making another one. But this technique also didn't work out when there was a dramatic change in the currency. From here and onward, I will pass on to Nita to discuss and tell us all the points regarding the defense, what they have to do, tell us about against it. Yes, Nita.
Thank you. Now I'm going to state the defendant points that the defendant argued on so that the case could be decided upon. The main points that were discussed was, the first case would be misrepresentation in the prospectus regarding hedging techniques. In this, the defendant argued that they cannot be liable because the prospectus contained cautionary language warning the fund about the ineffective and reducing currency risk through hedging. Available hedging tools were provided and advised, so the selection was already done by the professionals in the prospectus. This case could be referred from 56 to 60 prospectus complaint 56 to 60. The second case that was discussed was that misrepresentation in the sales materials. In this point, the defendant argued that the court could find no reasonable argument, and that it stated that no reasonable person would rely on any advertisements, and it could not be misleading when they read properly with the conjunction of the prospectus and related offering materials. The case that could be referred would be Brown versus Huntman Group 1991, which talks about the unwanted comparisons to various fixed investments. Proposed amended complaint 73 warned that such investment would have different characteristics than the fund. The third point that the company argued was undisclosure investment in mortgage-backed derivatives. The defendant clarified that the prospectus contained disclosed broad enough to cover these instruments. The prospectus disclosed that the fund would invest in government's guaranteed mortgage-related securities. Moreover, the prospectus referred potential investors to the statements of additional information which contains enough and extensive description of the mortgage-related instruments purchased. The case that could be referred would be McMahon and Co. 9005 SD. The last point that they argued upon was an improper change of investment objective. As per the fund's investment objective, according to the prospectus, was to seek the highest level of current income, consistent with the fund's advisors considers to be prudent investment risk that is available from a portfolio debt securities issued on guaranteed by the government of the United States, Canada, and Mexico. This objective was clearly stated and everybody related party was informed properly. On this basis, the plaintiffs cannot argue properly as the case was not made clear and the fund's investment objective was changed, which was not the point argued upon. So on the basis of point 13A to 3, this case was not decided upon this objective.
I will discuss the court decision. The court found that the fund's name and the investment objective could not have misled a reasonable investor and that the fund's risk were fully disclosed. Regarding the hedging technique claim, the court found that in the combination with the other warning content in the prospectus, a reasonable investor should not have been fully apprised of the risk that the funds would be unable to effective hedge its foreign investment.
Okay, as you all guys analyze this case, I will further go ahead to conclude this case. This case is materialistics. These companies make alliance to make some profit, to make some money. They find the investors. They invested money on the government guaranteed security bonds. But due to the collapse of the Mexican peso in December 1994, which is the currency of Mexico, due to this collapse, the companies have to face big loss. And the investors then put all matter to the court against the companies and raised four claims. The United States District Court for the Southern New York dismissed this original complaint. They dismissed 3 of the 4 claims, and with respect to the claim about the hedging technique, to reduce the currency risk, the court reversed. In this case, to my way of thinking, when the companies know that the fund could not use hedging technique to protect against the currency fluctuations, so they also have to bear some part of loss. On the other hand, when investors are going to invest something, they are going to invest somewhere, so they have to double check everything. They don't have to invest blindly. So they also, so the court gave decision against the investors. By the end of this discussions, I hope you all understand this case and we made better understandings. Here I also want to say thanks to all my group members for helping out, and thanks to all for watching this video.